Today is an incredibly difficult day. It is a tough moment not just for Ontario and Canada, but also for the United States. The economic landscape has shifted drastically, and the impact is being felt on both sides of the border. Ontario has made a significant decision by terminating its contract with Starlink and prohibiting the American company from participating in future bidding opportunities. At the same time, the LCBO, the world's largest liquor distributor, has ceased all imports of American liquor, instantly generating a staggering loss of $1 billion. Moreover, Canada has imposed a 25% tariff on an enormous $155 billion worth of U.S. goods, with an immediate impact on $30 billion of those imports. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, has declared his readiness to suspend electricity exports to the United States if necessary. These measures are not spontaneous retaliations, but part of a carefully calculated strategy. The moment the U.S. imposed new tariffs, Canada responded with swift and deliberate countermeasures, specifically targeting critical sectors of the American economy. Ontario has taken the lead by canceling its contract with Starlink and blocking American firms from bidding on government contracts. This action extends beyond the technology industry. It establishes a potentially dangerous precedent for American businesses that rely on access to the Canadian market, signaling a broader shift in trade relations. However, the most shocking development came from the LCBO, which made a dramatic move on the very day U.S. tariffs took effect. The sudden halt of American liquor imports deprived U.S. producers of one of their most significant markets overnight. The immediate economic fallout was immense, with losses amounting to $1 billion. This decision has disrupted the entire U.S. liquor supply chain, adding to the economic turmoil. Canada did not stop there. The government introduced a 25% tariff package affecting $155 billion worth of American imports, with $30 billion being subject to immediate enforcement. The impact of these tariffs is severe, particularly on industries such as agriculture, home appliances, automobiles, and technology. Many of these sectors were already struggling due to inflation and ongoing supply chain instability. Now they must contend with the additional burden of potential market share loss in Canada. These measures are not simply symbolic. They are causing real turmoil for American businesses. With Canada, a major trading partner, severing economic ties and imposing tariffs, U.S. companies are left with limited options. They must either absorb the financial losses or lobby the Trump administration to reconsider its trade policies. Meanwhile, in Canada, there is a noticeable surge in support for domestic products. Consumers are increasingly seeking alternatives to American goods. Local businesses are ramping up production, and regional governments are advocating for even stricter measures. The situation has escalated into a full-blown trade war, and Canada is demonstrating that it is far from weak. The U.S. government has responded swiftly to Canada's aggressive retaliatory actions. In an effort to regain control, Fox News quickly broadcast reports portraying the United States as still holding the upper hand. Simultaneously, White House officials attempted to reassure the public that the situation was part of a long-term strategy and that the economic consequences would be minimal. However, the reality presents a much more troubling picture. American agricultural exports, wine producers, and consumer goods industries are beginning to feel the effects. Agricultural associations have voiced concerns about declining sales, while technology firms such as Starlink are struggling to cope with the loss of critical contracts in Canada. Doug Ford has continued to escalate the situation by declaring that Ontario is prepared to halt electricity exports to the U.S. if necessary. He has also urged other provinces to join in the retaliatory measures. The response in Canada has been immediate and widespread. Boycotts of American products have rapidly gained traction, spreading from supermarkets to the tourism industry. Economic experts warn that if this conflict continues, the United States could suffer far greater economic damage than anticipated. Rising prices, Shrinking export markets and increasing pressure from businesses are placing the U.S. economy in a precarious position. Canada's response is not merely about retaliation. It is about forcing the United States to confront the real consequences of its trade policies. Meanwhile, Europe is facing an unprecedented energy crisis. Gas prices in the European Union have surged by over 100%, and supply disruptions have created mounting uncertainty. In the past, Russian gas accounted for nearly 40% of Europe's imports, making the region particularly vulnerable. Now, with the United States imposing tariffs that add approximately 10% to the cost of Canadian natural gas, the situation has become even more complex. The U.S. appears to be using these tariffs to push Canada to shift its LNG exports to the EU, where demand is surging. The strategic implications of this move are profound. By imposing these tariffs, the United States is attempting to manipulate the energy market, encouraging Canada to redirect its exports away from the U.S. and towards the European Union. This presents an opportunity for the EU to access an alternative energy source, reducing its reliance on Russian gas and U.S. LNG. Diversifying energy sources is a key strategy for ensuring greater energy security across the European continent. The international trade landscape is shifting rapidly. Canada is emerging as a strategic player in the global LNG sector, offering vast natural gas reserves and a stable political environment. The country's commitment to sustainable energy solutions and secure supply chains makes it an attractive alternative to traditional suppliers. One of Canada's most significant energy projects is the LNG Canada project. With an estimated investment of $40 billion, this initiative is expected to produce up to 14 million tons per annum, MTPA, of LNG once fully operational. The project will create thousands of jobs and significantly enhance Canada's role in the global LNG supply chain. Canada's geographical advantage further strengthens its position, allowing for efficient transportation of LNG to both the European and Asian markets. Historically, the United States dominated the global LNG market, with vast production capabilities and an extensive export network. However, recent policy uncertainties and tariff measures have weakened its competitive edge. Some estimates suggest that these factors have reduced the competitiveness of U.S. LNG by approximately 15% in key markets. As the United States grapples with these challenges, Canada and Mexico are rapidly expanding their LNG infrastructure, intensifying competition in the energy sector. The rivalry between LNG suppliers is driving advancements in technology, improvements in shipping efficiency, and the refinement of trade agreements. The objective is to lower costs and enhance the economic viability of LNG exports, ensuring that the energy needs of critical markets are met. The evolving trade landscape is not only reshaping current market shares, but also influencing long-term strategies for sustainable energy development. Adaptability and flexibility will be key to success in the future energy sector. The trade tensions between the United States and Canada extend beyond tariffs. It is a battle for sovereignty, economic stability, and respect. President Donald Trump's decision to impose a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports from Canada has significantly strained the historically strong trade relationship between the two nations. The consequences of this policy are far-reaching, impacting Canadian industries and raising concerns about long-term economic stability. Trump has also made provocative statements regarding Canada's sovereignty, even suggesting that the U.S. could annex Canada. These remarks have deeply insulted Canadians, who see them as an attack on their independence and national identity. In response, the Canadian people have taken action. A grassroots boycott campaign has emerged, targeting American products and tourism. Businesses and consumers alike have reduced their spending on U.S. goods, opting instead to support Canadian-made alternatives. Major retailers, local stores, and individual shoppers have all played a role in this movement. Beyond refusing American products, many Canadians have also canceled trips to the United States. This boycott is not merely a reaction to Trump's trade policies. It is a powerful statement against disrespect and a defense of Canadian values. The movement has spread rapidly, sending a clear message: Canada will not be intimidated. The economic consequences for the United States are significant. Tourism-dependent states such as Florida, Texas, and New York are experiencing major revenue losses. Canadian tourists, traditionally among the most frequent visitors to the U.S., are drastically reducing their travel plans. Estimates suggest that a mere 10% decline in Canadian tourists could result in the loss of 140,000 jobs and a $2 billion hit to the U.S. tourism industry. This trade war is more than a financial dispute. It is a turning point in North American relations. Canada is standing firm, defending its future, and proving that even against a more powerful neighbor, it will not back down. I have shared my opinion, but what do you think? Leave your comment, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. See you soon.